Concealed within fortified trench networks, Russian artillery crews load and fire heavy shells from camouflaged positions designed to evade drones and counter battery strikes. The images highlight frontline battlefield.
For more than 2 years, Russia relied on one central assumption. If it kept applying pressure long enough, Ukraine would eventually run out of options. But recent battlefield reports suggest that assumption may now be facing one of its biggest tests yet. Russia's spring offensive was expected to show that Moscow still controlled the rhythm of the war. Instead, several battlefield assessments suggest the offensive produced very limited territorial results, despite a sharp increase in attacks. According to deep state figures reported by Ukrainian media and international outlets, Russia captured only about 14 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory in May. That would mark one of Russia's weakest monthly advances in years. The most important point is not only the small amount of land, it is the cost of trying to take it. Reports say Russian assaults increased sharply, with more than 7,000 attacks recorded across the month. This creates the first major question. If Russia is attacking more often, but gaining less ground, is Moscow still dictating the war? Or is Ukraine beginning to make Russia's offensive model more expensive than it can comfortably sustain? For much of the conflict, Russia held the battlefield initiative. That meant Ukraine often had to react to Russian pressure across multiple sectors. But initiative is not just about attacking. It is about forcing the enemy to respond to your decisions. That is where the battlefield may be starting to change. Ukraine is not simply trying to launch one massive counteroffensive. Instead, it appears to be using smaller tactical actions, drone coordination, and logistics pressure to stretch Russian planning. The reported fighting pattern is important. Russian forces are often attacking in very small groups. Before these assaults can develop, they are frequently detected by Ukrainian drones, then targeted by artillery, mortars, or FPV strike teams. This shows how technology is changing the value of manpower. Russia may still have more soldiers, but if small assault groups are detected quickly, then manpower alone cannot easily restore offensive momentum. Ukraine's approach appears different. Rather than concentrating huge formations, Ukrainian forces are using reconnaissance, precision strikes, and local counterattacks to create pressure in selected areas. The goal is not spectacle. The goal is cumulative disruption. This is why the gray zone matters. Many frontline areas are no longer clearly controlled by either side. Drones watch these zones constantly. Small infantry teams then move forward, clear positions, and slowly push Russian control backward. The result is a slower, more methodical form of pressure. It may not look like a traditional breakthrough, but over time, many small tactical gains can produce a larger operational effect, especially if Russia cannot respond efficiently. The first consequence is military. If Ukraine can keep Russia reacting, Moscow may lose the ability to choose where the next major battle happens. That forces Russian commanders to spread reserves, air defenses, and artillery across too many priorities. The second consequence is economic. A war of attrition is not fought only with soldiers. It is fought with fuel, vehicles, ammunition, repair depots, railways, factories, and replacement units. That is why Ukraine's deeper strike campaign matters beyond the immediate front line. Attacks on logistics hubs, fuel infrastructure, and transport networks can make every Russian advance more costly before it even begins. The third consequence is technological. FPV drones, reconnaissance drones, electronic warfare, and AI-assisted targeting are now shaping the battlefield, as much as tanks and artillery once did. Every adaptation creates a new counter-adaptation. This also explains why NATO militaries are watching the war so closely. Ukraine is showing how relatively cheap drones can threaten expensive systems, disrupt logistics, and change the tempo of ground operations. But this does not mean Russia is collapsing Russia can still launch missile strikes, deploy mass drones, mobilize industry, and apply heavy pressure on specific sectors of the front. The danger for Ukraine remains very real. The deeper issue is different. Russia needs its sacrifices to produce visible results. If heavy attacks bring only limited gains, while Ukraine expands pressure behind the front, then the political and military logic of Russia's campaign becomes harder to defend. This is where the war may be entering a more uncertain phase. Russia may try to regain momentum by intensifying attacks in one or two key sectors. Ukraine may try to prevent that by forcing Russian forces to defend everywhere at once. So what happens next? If Ukraine maintains this pressure, Russia may be forced to choose between reinforcing the front and protecting rear areas. That is exactly the kind of dilemma modern drone warfare is designed to create. If Russia adapts successfully, the initiative could swing back again. Moscow has repeatedly shown that it can absorb losses, change tactics, and continue fighting. That is why this moment should not be mistaken for a guaranteed Ukrainian breakthrough. But if the current trend continues, the bigger story may be clear. Russia may no longer be able to control the war on its own terms. And in a long war, that kind of shift can matter. More than one captured village. The real question is not whether Russia can still fight. It clearly can. The question is whether Russia can still decide the pace, the pressure, and the direction of the war as confidently as it did before. Before we finish, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Russia is truly losing the battlefield initiative, or is this only a temporary shift before Moscow adapts again? Leave your opinion below, like this video, subscribe to TuVu News, and turn on notifications for our next report.